Test. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Trader Minute. It's great to have you on board. I'm Carl. Thanks for tuning in this morning. And looking here at the futures. Futures are at 1 point around eight or so. We got about 2.5 points of fair value in there. So if you can see, the futures have sold off a little bit here in about the last 45 minutes to an hour. We're up about just under 5.75 is where the futures are this morning. So we're looking at it open around 3.5 to 4, somewhere in that range on the S&P. And really, after the beating that the markets took on Friday, it's a fairly weak morning. We're not expecting a whole lot out of the market early on this morning. It could drop a little bit lower, but eventually you're going to see, most likely in situations like this, eventually you'll see some buyers start to step in, give this market 2-3 hours to get up and going this morning, and we'll likely see a little bit of a rebound. So there was some new things out. Last Friday we talked about Argentina and Turkey, with Argentina central banks running out of money to back their currency, and some other events in Turkey. That hasn't changed over the weekend. There's still issues in Argentina and Turkey. Turkey is going to hold some emergency meetings tomorrow. So the market's got some new walls of worry to worry about now. And until these, one or two of these walls of worry are knocked over, the market might have a hard time getting up off the ground early on this year. Okay. Another thing over the weekend too, it was expected a large major bank in China might collapse. Okay, now that didn't happen. When I heard that, it just reminded me of, I think it was Bear Stearns. And I remember it was on a Friday, and they were talking about Bear Stearns being on the brink, and their CEO came out and said, no, 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 we're fine. And then, of course, what happened? They did go out the next Friday. And Bear Stearns was trading about $50 a share on a Friday afternoon, and come Monday morning, they were trading about $1.50. It was a pretty amazing thing to watch have happen, and who would have ever thought that would have happened with the Bear Stearns? Okay, and so yeah, there's some new worries out there in the world. It's causing a lot of uncertainty out there, and it's pretty big uncertainty. So that's why you got the market on edge right now. Okay. This morning we got new sales. Look at the economic calendar here. New sales data out. The market's not going to be too concerned about this with everything else weighing on its mind. This week, the FOMC meeting begins. Talked about it last week, how it's Yellen's first time. It's her first one. We got the announcement coming at 2 o'clock Eastern time on Wednesday. It's going to be very interesting to see how she handles this, and how she, if she's confident with the taper. I mean, I looked and found this morning reports. There's one here, front page of Market Watch. Nothing's going to deter the Fed from tapering this week. Most people, from what I've been reading, most people think that they probably do another round of tapering. And as long as that's not too much, as long as they don't get real ambitious about pulling more and more of this off the table, the market will probably be fine with it. In fact, it's probably going to be worrying about other issues going on in the world, as long as taper is just kind of in line, maybe another 10 billion, something like that, would be, I think the market would handle that okay. Too much too fast would be a concern. You'd see the market have another wall to have to worry about. Durable goods comes out tomorrow as well. Consumer confidence tomorrow morning. Other than that, well, we got a GDP. The GDP, it's not nearly the number it was. It's just we're looking at hindsight there. It doesn't usually cause some big reactions to the market. Weekly numbers of jobless claims, and then the natural gas and stuff are coming out on Thursday this week. Other than that, not a lot. Consumer sentiment out here. There's not a lot more really up to Wednesday, or the bigger numbers, the bigger events that might get some reaction out of the marketplace. After that, pretty much weekly numbers. All right, so the market here, we're looking at again probably at about a 3 point move higher. Our positions, they're just there's not a lot of pre-market trading going on with them, so we don't really have much of an indication as to which way they're going to be going this morning. I saw Lorillard coming through earlier on this morning at CNBC on the ticker, but a lot of times that's just older numbers. So yeah, this huge sell-off basically opened at the low. Opened at the high and closed at the low of the day. It's a pretty, looking at this, just a technical action, very bearish move right here. Now we're a mile away from the 7. You expect some type of a little bit of snapback here. We're going to get a little bit this morning, but really, again, it's a little bit of a weaker open as far as trying to get a boost back upward off of it. So we might see a little bit of weakness early on, but then we're expecting within 2-3 hours for some buyers to start stepping in. Out there on the earnings front, we got Caterpillar. Big numbers. They beat by 26 cents. They beat their revenues by almost $1 billion. Revenues came in at 14.4 billion versus the estimate of 13.6. They also announced a $10 billion stock buyback program. Now, they're already in the midst of a buyback program right now, and that is going to wrap up, they say, within the first quarter of this year. They've added another $10 billion on top of that one. So, some phenomenal news out of Caterpillar this morning. They're saying that this year they're expecting to see a year similar to 2013, which for them was a pretty good year. And so a lot of good numbers, and Caterpillar up. Let's go look at it right now. I saw it a little bit earlier. It was up about $5. Yeah, closed last night 86. That's about right where it's up. About $5 or so this morning. A nice action here on one of the big dogs out there in the stock market. Other news out there: if the market, if it can erase the last hour of selling that we saw in the market on Friday, which took the market another leg lower on Friday to close there at the low, if we can get that last hour of selling erased, then that would be a very positive for this market today. So that's what we'd be looking at here technically on the market itself. Some stocks out there with some upgrades, downgrades. Costco got a downgrade to an underweight over at JP Morgan. We've been watching Costco. They've been rolling over with the market, and so far probably not going to get another break here. Likely to gap down, run down through this 112 area. We'll follow this one today. You can see it's gapped up just slightly this morning. And so let's run through, look at our positions as the market just opened up, and look at Walmart down about a quarter. Again, we're expecting a little bit of weakness this morning, and then Lorillard just flat. It's trading down 4 cents, so it's just flat this morning on the open here. So nothing to react to initially here. We'll keep our eyes on these. Some other stocks out there. Well, since the market just opened, see Costco actually trading a little bit higher this morning after the downgrade there, and then Barclays was pretty active along the upgrade downgrade scene. They downgraded Toll here, Toll Brothers, to an equal weight. They also gave KB Homes. They also gave KB Homes same thing. They got a downgrade here on KB Homes to an equal weight. Again, Barclays was out there doing this morning. So KB Homes, really the channel they've been in, 1775 up to about 1850. They're at the lower end of that channel right now. A break of the channel down to the lower Bollinger Band would be pretty bearish on it, but right now, really there's nothing to react to here on KB Homes, but that's why you'll see them down, a little bit of a downgrade from Barclays. They also downgraded Mosaic, Barclays, same thing, to an equal weight. So they've been out there, in a weak market, given some lighter downgrades to equal weights, It's their definition. There's a lot of these different definitions you're going to hear out there in the market: equal weight, market perform, sector perform. Depends on which company you're listening to. The terminology is going to be a little different. Okay, CSX, right? The big railroad didn't do all that great on earnings announcement. They got a downgrade to a neutral. Some of the upgrades, there wasn't a lot of upgrades this morning. One of them was on potash. Potash to an outperform over at Raymond James. Now it's trading higher here this morning. Gap up about 63 cents higher. So we'll see if that can continue today. As far as the market itself, the SPX up about 2. After the huge sell-off, to see it open that small, it's going to be a weaker open here. But we'd expect buyers to step in if the market does roll over and start selling off. We'll see some buyers step in here a little bit later on this morning. Another stock, Honeywell. Honeywell got an upgrade this morning to a buy over at Langenberg. And you can see them trading up this morning about 1.5%. A positive for this stock right here, if it could get up and hold that $90 area instead of reversing and running back lower off of it, be with bullish sign a break of that 90 and hold it into the close today. All right. But so far it's probably one of the few stocks. I think we're going to be pretty mixed. I bet if you looked out there, a lot of different stocks, you'll see some are going to be up slightly and some will be down slightly on mornings like this. Also, Peabody Energy, they got an upgrade to a neutral at Bank of America. These are about 50 cents this morning, and for them technically to get over 17.5 up through that 7-day moving average would be what you're after. If just coming up here into the 17.5 to hit this area and push back down lower, the stock's probably off to new lows, probably around a 16 or so. But initially, early on, jumping back up to the 7, it's got to break up through that level before I'd get too bullish on it. Another stock we've been watching here, FedEx. Broke out of the channel on Friday, and a lot of channeling stocks broke out to the downside on Friday. And the problem was, I didn't give a top 3 Thursday or Friday. The problem was they went too far too fast. And right now, these are weak opens. When you see stocks with these big drops like this, just zoom in on this for you a little bit. You see stocks that have these big drops like that to open up, right down towards the lows. It's a pretty weak sign. It doesn't mean it's just going to break and bust down to the low side and just continue to crash and burn. You just got to watch it, and the 7's going to catch up. It might hold this 135. There's a lot of scenarios right in here, but it's a fairly weak when you get that type of action in the morning. Cigna, down about 46 cents right now, down towards this lower point right here. And this is another stock that just took off on Friday. It's right down here to this little bit of level of a resistance. Some support down in this range. This is where you'd want it to hold and start to break back higher. It's a long ways away from the 7, as are most stocks this morning. There's a good chance here that they're going to come back up towards that 7. All right. If we get another round of selling and if this other news breaks out around the world, the stocks could continue to go. That's always the danger in these types of markets that are being news driven. It's not technically driven right now. It's more news driven than anything. And you get the market concern and you get this panic selling, which we saw on Friday. We could see another leg lower, but right now the market's just kind of holding its own this morning, but looking a little bit weak. As far as Google, down about $5. That's just 0.5% this morning. Like most of them, it's quite a ways away from the 7. It's a weaker open on it. Pretty bearish to break through the 1120 mark and likely coming down here to the lower Bollinger Band on that type of action. But right now, just hanging on to the 1120. I say come down to 1120, come down to the 1100 level down here in this lower Bollinger Band. A break that 1120 is probably going to wind up right back there. Okay. Apple. Now Apple up about $7 this morning, and I believe Apple is after the bell. Yeah, today after the bell, they're going to be announcing earnings, and so usually ahead of an earnings announcement, companies will just go flat. For them to be up $7 is just not much. There's reports out there. I saw a report this morning by I think it was Fitzgerald. They're saying that they're expecting Apple to beat their earnings announcement. So someone's going out on a limb to be a hero uh, that they're going to beat. Yeah, they probably will, but it doesn't mean they're going to go up. There's so many other factors there to go into this. So we can't really look at this technically today. It's always a fun one to watch. In my opinion, Apple's been always a fun one to watch when the announcement comes out. If they're going up or down, it's and it's one of the biggest ones out there as far as gets the most attention. Apple gets probably the most attention out of stocks out there, and yeah, it is. It can make some pretty big moves, and that's always fun to watch. All right, other stocks out there. Chesapeake had a nice looking chart on Friday. At one point, it was turning positive, looked like it might rally. Just flat this morning. It's got a long ways away from 7. Technically, it's coming back towards it. It's still, comparatively speaking to the other stocks out there in the market, very strong chart. We talked about the natural gas stocks on Friday and how these are pretty bullish. And, what's going on out there in the world? Well, natural gas supplies are down a bit. It would be an interesting number out on Thursday to see the inventories of natural gas, see where they're sitting. Most of the country is in a big deep freeze right now. Yeah, a little bit, probably colder than normal, all the way down into the Texas area. But early on in the wintertime, they're expecting it to get cold. But to get as cold as it's been, as long as it's been, and as far south as it's been, now it's starting to get the natural gas stocks up there to where we might start. They're holding their own in this sell-off, so it's probably going to be a bullish area in this market. We just got to keep an eye on them and see if it gives us an opportunity to play that area. Caterpillar, look at them this morning. So major gap higher and so far a run higher. If you didn't catch their earnings announcement this morning, if you weren't here, they had phenomenal numbers. They beat by 26 cents. The revenues they beat by about $800 million. And then they also announced a $10 billion stock buyback program. And that's on top of a current repurchase program that they expect to wrap up first quarter this year. So just some big numbers and the big buyback program. Of course, that always helps to throw that in there. And that's going to help their earnings going forward too. You take those shares off the market. It's going to give them their numbers, make those numbers look a little bit better in the future. But no, they had great numbers, some decent expectations for the year, and so they're looking good this morning. 3D, they got a downgrade. You can see them trading down about 4% this morning. They're a long ways away from the 7, and most stocks are a long ways away from the 7. Expect some type of a move back towards the 7 as the day goes on. Walmart down about 24 cents off the lows. We're expecting a bounce back here up towards that 7-day moving average. With Lorillard, they're flat this morning, up 4 cents. So nothing to react to here on either one of our positions. Okay, so other stocks out there. Is anybody else having video problems? If they are, type them in there. You can see one or two that talking about not working. You might need to refresh that might help out. So ConocoPhillips, they got a downgrade this morning. See them trading down a little bit. Most stocks are going to be a little bit weaker. I want to just check the market really fast. And up about 4 points. So we're getting a little bit out of the market. But compared to the sell-off we saw on Friday, what we want to see happen here is we want to see Friday's last hour of selling erased. Okay. If we can see that, then it's going to be a little bit of a bullish sign, at least in the short term, for the market. So you can see right now the future's up 8. That puts the market up about 5 right now. A little bit of a slight jump here. So maybe we're starting to see some buyers step in at this point. A little too early to tell. It's only been going up the last couple of minutes here, but and break out of this little bit of a slide that we've been seeing in the futures this morning. Okay, everybody, I'll be on chat with you. Josh will be on chat. Jeff will be on chat, kind of in and out throughout the day. He's out looking for trades and watching the positions. If you have any questions, go ahead and chat those on in, or you can reach us personally through our emails if you like. It's Carl, that's with a C, Josh or Jeff at traderminute.com. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. All right, bye-bye.